Welcome back to r/LegalAdvice, where people ask questions, get advice, and we get satisfaction. If you are new around here, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel to join our awesome community, and without any further ado, let's dive right into the stories. And the first one is titled, Colorado, what do I do with my house? Just leave the keys on the counter? Like many Americans, I lost my job in 2008 and could not afford my mortgage. I had a friend in a similar situation and he just stopped trying and said he would move out when he got evicted. I didn't feel I had much of a choice, so I did the same thing. I was out of work for 15 months and never made a single payment during that time. During this time I got several notices of late payment, notices of pending eviction, and then nothing. It never happened. 12 years later I am still here and I haven't made a single mortgage payment. As you can imagine, during this time I also fell behind on my property taxes. Eventually I was able to pay off the delinquent taxes and I've continued to pay them on time every year since. To be honest, I'm not even sure who owns my house anymore. No one has even mailed me anything about it. I looked it up on the county records and I'm still listed as the owner. Now to my question. Frankly, the house is too big for me now and I would like to downsize. My kids have moved out and my wife passed in 2016. I just don't need this house. The county thinks I own it. How do I tell them that I don't and I've just been living here rent-free? Ironically, I am worried if I just leave, no one will pay the property taxes and then I will have a new problem to deal with. And a user in the comments said, what housing could you procure that would be less than your property taxes? Leaving is problematic, you are still the owner of the house and will be responsible for what happens there, code violations and taxes. Any chance it is worth more than the old Lien at this point? Call a title company local to you and see if they are able to identify any liens and get you a payoff. Don't give them any information about the old loan, see what they can find on their own. I gotta say guys, that is a very unique situation if you ask me. And by the way, I'm curious, do you still remember the financial crisis of 2008? How did it impact your life back then? Let us know in the comments. And the next one is an update to the what do I do with my house? Just leave the keys on the counter story. I want to thank everyone for the advice on my last post and to give a brief update. I spoke to an attorney about it and she started looking into it. First thing she said is that I am still the owner and that the eviction process was never completed. She also told me that there is still a lien on the house, which is where it gets interesting. My mortgage was ultimately sold to a second mortgage company which no longer exists. The second mortgage company that had my mortgage was absorbed by a third company which went bankrupt and collapsed. Because I've been maintaining the property and paying property taxes coupled with no lien holder asserting their rights, she believes she can get the lien holder removed from the title. So as it turns out, I may end up owning my home free and clear after all. Unfortunately, she doesn't know how long everything will take, so I don't anticipate an update for a while. But thank you all. And you know guys, something that might sound weird to you, but something that I always wanted to understand is how this whole buying and selling mortgages in the US really works. I've been trying to get into that topic because for some reason I find it fascinating, but it is just a little bit too difficult for me. And the next one is titled, Condo Board is telling me as of June 5th, the parking spot I own will be converted into a handicapped spot. But there are no other parking spots available. Is this legal? This started back in December. I own a parking spot that is right next to the 3 existing handicapped spots in my condo building. I have paperwork that says I am the owner of parking spot A5. Me and my wife inherited this condo from my mother. In December, apparently a new tenant moved in who requires a handicapped parking spot. However, our building already does not have enough parking for everyone. For roughly 100 units, we have maybe 50 spots tops. Back then I was asked by the condo board if I was willing to give up my spot for these people who need a handicapped spot. I was okay with it until they explained that there are no other available spots. Instead they wanted me to sign over my parking spot in exchange for nothing. Apparently in 2022, when the parking garage expansion will take place, I will be first on that list to receive one of the new spots. Until then, apparently I am out of luck. Since this is downtown Toronto, where parking is extremely limited, at that point both me and my wife refused to sign anything. In February, the condo board yet tried to get me to sign paperwork again, and I refused. They offered to pay for a spot for me roughly 10 blocks away at another building. I told the condo board yet again I am not interested. They have tried to guilt both me and my wife numerous times about this. The tenant who needs the spot has approached me and my wife several times about how we are making her life a living hell. In April, the condo board during the board meeting thing put a vote asking for people to vote for the conversion of parking spots A5, A6, A7 to be converted into 2 handicapped parking spots. The motion passed, however, neither me or the people in A6 and A7 are budging so far. Today I received a letter stating that as of June 5th, 2020, I will no longer be the owner of parking spot A5. I did not sign any paperwork and have told our condo board to piss off. My questions are, is this legal? Can the condo board take away our parking spot that we own? Do we have any sort of legal alternatives? Just to clarify, I am not really trying to be a dick, however, these new people who moved in bought the unit fully knowing they were not buying a parking spot. Instead, from my understanding, is they expect the apartment building to provide them a handicapped spot free of charge. Location is Toronto, Ontario. And a user in the comments said, this will likely be worth contacting a lawyer about. This is likely illegal but will depend on what is in your home ownership documents. How is the parking spot defined and what exactly is included, and the condo bylaws, aka what are their powers and was proper procedure followed. If there are 2 other people affected by this decision, you might be able to get the same lawyer to represent you. Definitely worth fighting because it can affect the value of your place. Parking spots are a premium downtown. And as I mentioned before guys, I really enjoy living in large cities, but of course one of the big downsides of living in these places is having limited parking space. And that is exactly why I ride a motorcycle and don't like cars. Because with my bike I can always find a parking spot no problem. Update to the handicapped parking spot story. Thank you for all the advice. We ended up talking to a lawyer on Tuesday and we paid him a small amount to write a nicely worded letter indicating that our condo board had no right to do what they are doing. The condo board has more or less agreed that they are in the wrong, yeah, F them, and will be pursuing other alternatives to create handicapped parking for this new owner. Today, the owner who wants the spot came to my door telling me that I need to move my car because as of today, it belonged to her. I explained to her what the condo board told me and she got very upset. For now, I am not going to move my car because I think she could be more of an issue than my condo board. To answer a few questions, I did offer the condo board an option to buy my spot for a stupidly high price of $200,000 and a guaranteed spot when they increase the parking space, but they are not interested. I do in fact own this parking spot, it is owned by me and deeded to me. There's no street parking / stopping in front of our building. Handicapped spots are actually owned / managed by the building. The issue came to heads when the people who bought the condo had a verbal promise that there was available handicapped parking. However, not long after making that promise, another tenant needed a handicapped parking spot due to him being stuck in a wheelchair. So the spot ended up going to him. The actual owner who is complaining about this actually owns a non-handicapped spot, however, they refuse to trade it because they have 2 vehicles. Their other vehicle is one of those specialized minivans for wheelchairs. Finally, the owner who has been making all of this fuss has been trying to take the condo board to court over this. Anyways, thank you LegalAdvice for your help. The next one is titled, HOA dispute with the city / neighbor cost me my condo sale and ultimately $5,000. I just found this subreddit and wanted to tell a story that happened about a year ago. I lived in a condo, 100 plus units, for about 3 years. I had 0 problems with the HOA the entire time I lived there. They seemed to be fair, had reasonable rules and also seemed like nice people. When it was time to move out, I put the house on the market, received an offer, got past the inspection with no issues. About 2 weeks before closing, we had a snag come up with the title search. Apparently, the neighboring community made some land improvements that were out of code with the city. Additionally, it looks like that community accidentally did the improvement on our association property line. Because the issue occurred on our association property, even though it was done by the other association, the city stopped by and required the improvement be fixed. The two associations argued about responsibility, while each day that went by, our association was fined by the city. The fine ended up coming to $10,000 after about 2 months. Since my association refused to accept responsibility for the improvement, which seems reasonable, they also refused to pay the fine, which does not seem reasonable. Eventually, the city placed a lien on the association as a whole for the $10,000+ fine. The amount was not a huge issue, as both associations are huge and could afford a $10,000 fine, but no one seemed to take responsibility. Cue me trying to sell the condo. I happen to be the unlucky individual who first tried to sell the condo after the lien being placed. About 3 months prior, the title company and buyer's bank wouldn't accept the lien, which left me with 2 options. Pay the lien myself and hope to one day get the money back, or find a new buyer who could buy cash. At this point, the HOA went from being reasonable to competently ignoring calls from me, the buyer and his agent, the title company and the buyer's bank. Their position was that they could not pay the fine/lien as it would be seen as accepting liability for the improvement. The 2 condo associations wouldn't accept responsibility and decided to figure it out in court. Long story short, the sale fell through because the buyer's bank wouldn't accept the conditions of the lien. I ended up having to relist the condo and only accept cash offers. I eventually sold the condo at a loss of about $5,000. This also took 2 to 3 months, so another 2 to 3 months of HOA fees and other costs. The HOA was a complete nightmare to deal with every step along the way. I spoke with some attorneys about the matter, and long story short, it would cost me more than $10,000 to get that money back and would be tricky nonetheless. I've considered small claims court, but now living in a different country makes things tricky. And because I know my ripe stars enjoy HOA stories, the next one is also from FHOA, and it is titled FHOA, they charged me $500 over 1 penny. When I bought my townhouse a couple of years ago, the seller told us that if we closed by the end of the year, they would pay for our HOA fees for the next year. The reason for this was because they couldn't start construction on the newer townhouses behind us if they didn't sell them. Anyway, they held up their end and everything was paid for, so I thought. I had been paying my HOA fees for about 6 months into 2018 when I get a letter telling me that I owe $500 for negligent pay. Wait, what? I called the HOA and they told me that, yep. I had not paid in full at the end of 2017. I told them I wasn't the one who paid those fees. They looked into it and the seller had missed a penny on the last transaction of the year. 1 penny, and I got a $500 bill. I asked why they didn't send me notice earlier and they told me, the letters must have not gotten to you. Bullcrap. But I was told to screw off and pay my bill. I ended up calling the seller and talking to them. The woman on the other end laughed for about 5 minutes before telling me about how absolutely ridiculous the HOA was being and that she would call on my behalf, which I wasn't expecting. I got a phone call from the HOA later telling me that the fees have been waived. I am so glad that the seller was so frickin' nice. I would probably have just paid it since I hate confrontation. And guys, I think that is how a lot of HOAs still continue to exist, because many people just fear confrontation in general, and that's why HOAs can bully people around. And the last one is titled, Bullied by coworkers, they knock off my cap from my head a dozen times a day, among other things. Is this considered assault? In New York. I have 2 coworkers that harass me and bully me at work every day. They insult me and call me names and make unfunny pranks. In our work uniform, we have a cap. What they do is they knock off my cap with the back of their hand, so I have to pick it up on the ground where it gets dirty. They do this like a dozen times a day. Looks innocent enough, but it is aggressive behavior and it is making me miserable. My manager says it is schoolyard drama and won't do anything, I just don't know how to make them stop. Could knocking off my cap be considered assault? And a user in the comments said, you need to contact your HR department and the corporate office if you have one. This doesn't meet the qualifications of assault, but this very well could constitute a hostile work environment. And the next one is an update to the hostile work environment story. Update because I used your advice and it helped. When I went back to work, I talked to my boss about the bullying and them knocking off my cap, and I said it is making me miserable, but again, he didn't care. So I said that what they are doing is harassment, and because they make fun of my speech impediment, it is discrimination, and if he doesn't do anything, he's responsible for it. I saw he was pissed, but still he talked to his upper boss. Then when he came back, he yelled at me and the bullies for creating trouble, and I thought we were going to be fired, but that was it. But then the next day the owner came, that rarely happens, and he talked to my boss and then to me. He told me the bullying would stop and to tell him if it didn't. At first the guys who were bullying me were moved to another part of the shop so they wouldn't be with me, but the next day one of them was fired, not sure if it is over the bullying. Anyway, it is good now thanks to you, and I don't need to find a new job. I gotta say guys, that makes me very happy that at least one of those bullies got fired, because bullying, whether it is at school or at your workplace, has no place to be anywhere actually. I absolutely despise people who do that. Neighbor claims we are ruining his life with noise, and he's monitoring us 24/7 in our own home. In Maryland, the story: new neighbor moved into the townhouse next to ours a few months ago. We have only ever spoken to him once or twice when he first moved in to introduce ourselves. In early May, I was on my back porch cleaning my bicycle and he came out on his back porch as well. I attempted to say hello to him, but he simply glared at me and walked back inside. I thought this was odd, but I let it go. Then, on Memorial Day, I saw him outside again and tried to say hello and was again met with a blank stare. I asked him if he had a problem and he looked at me like, "You know what you did." I spent the next 2 days wondering what I did to this guy. Eventually, my wife and I decided we should try to make whatever it was right and left him a neighborly note apologizing and asking him to let us know if we had done anything to offend him, to let us know so we can fix it. Then Saturday he dropped off a packet. Full pages of complaint and then 7 pages of diagrams and figures. He claims that we are deliberately and violently making noises to piss him off. He claims we are slamming things into walls, howling in rage, dropping things, and jumping heavily from step to step down the stairs with both feet. And apparently we are doing all of this just to make him angry. All of the things he claims we have done are either completely fabricated or grossly misrepresented or exaggerated. A lot of the complaints he has are for dates and times when we were either asleep or not home. The most troubling thing is that he also informed us that he has been subjecting you to 24/7 surveillance monitoring across the walls adjacent our homes. He then proceeds to provide screenshots of the audio surveillance he has been conducting, along with some examples he finds particularly egregious. These noises he claims to be hearing are all 55 decibel or below, which is the volume of a typical conversation, not loud at all. He threatens repeatedly in his letter that if we don't discontinue your aggressions towards us, he will file a harassment charge and a restraining order. He also threatened to pursue civil damages for the welfare/health and financial stress we have somehow subjected him to. There is a lot more crap in this letter he sent, but that is the gist of it. What we have done? Well, we contacted our landlord. We've been here for 2 years without incident. We know them, they are on our side. They have contacted his landlords as well, as they are good friends. Filed a police report and also called the police to take a statement from us and talk to him. They are also on our side. The police thought he was just nuts and told us to avoid contact with him, which we will definitely do, but I need to know if there's anything else we can or should do to protect ourselves from this guy. I feel like if I close the refrigerator too hard, he's going to snap. He is monitoring us 24/7. Isn't this very illegal? And we don't currently feel safe in our own home. What do? And a user in the comments said, there's not a lot that will happen unless the behavior worsens. OP can call the police to request wellness checks or make their own reports for harassment to head off the guy. It does sound likely that he has a delusional or psychotic disorder, but he would need to demonstrate actual dangerousness to himself or others before police or a court would actually intervene. My best advice is for OP to make it OP's landlord's problem. If the OP's landlord has a relationship with the neighbor's landlord, they can lean on that to address issues with the neighbor up to and including eviction. It is in OP's landlord's financial interest to maintain a good tenant and perhaps not in OP's neighbor's landlord's interest to maintain a tenant with uncontrolled paranoia and escalating behaviors. And now the update to the crazy, creepy neighbor. There is a moving van outside, he is leaving. We are not supposed to post YouTube videos here, so just pretend there are links to Nana Hey Hey Kiss Him Goodbye, Paulika/Steam and Celebration by Kool and the Gang here. Seems silly, but okay. The next one is titled, My Grandmom was arrested for theft from Walmart. So, long story short, my grandmom buys almost $400 worth of groceries for the month, but forgets about the two 12-packs on the bottom of one of the baskets. She gets out to the car and starts packing things up. When she realizes that she did not pay for the Cokes, she goes back in to correct her mistake. She informs the lady at the door that she forgot about the Cokes on the bottom of the basket and says she wants to pay for them. The lady says something on her radio and Walmart security then comes out and tells her to wait where she is, and soon the PD comes out and gets her story. They do not arrest her, but she's given a citation and is supposed to appear in court. What the literal hell? What can we do to have this dropped? My grandmom obviously did not try to steal and even tried to pay for the items she accidentally walked out with. Edit, yes, I know she was not actually arrested, but that was only because the officers declined to and cited her instead. And a user in the comments said, I would be shocked if a prosecutor wanted to touch this case with a 10-foot pole. Shoplifting/petty theft requires an intent to permanently deprive the store of the goods. A customer actually returning to the store to pay for forgotten items is the exact opposite of that. Common sense dictates that thieves do not come back to alert the merchant of their crime. Additionally, who's going to want to look like an a-hole in front of a jury trying to paint as a criminal an elderly woman who voluntarily came back into the store to pay for items she forgot to put on the conveyor? Nobody. That's who. And guys, I'm curious, what do you think about this story? Will the grandma really have to appear in court? Do you think Walmart is that stupid? Let us know in the comments. And now an update to the grandma's story. So, not really advice seeking, just updating everyone on the resolution. So, all of this is secondhand knowledge, so if it sounds like I do not know what happened, it is because I really don't know the full details. My grandmom's lawyer apparently filed a motion to dismiss and it was granted. He informed her Friday that the county is dropping the charges against her. So, rather boring update here, but thankfully it went our way. As for the specifics, I do not know everything as my grandmom called me last night to let me know. Figured I would update all of you who were invested in the story somehow on what happened. So, recap, grandmom buys $400 worth of grocery, forgets Cokes, takes them back to pay, gets cops called, go to county courthouse, pleas not guilty, gets a court date. Lawyer files motion to dismiss on whatever grounds, I am guessing the absurdity of the charges, and it is granted. Victory. Edit, half the people here are saying things like, lesson learned, don't return to Walmart. Honestly, I was shocked that this happened to her. The one I shop at does not act like this. They are more chill, but I guess the Walmart where my grandma shopped is full of idiots. The moral is, don't assume that everyone will do the right thing, survey the situation and decide if going back to correct your mistake is worth it. If your store is known for debaggery, don't go back. If they are known to be fair, go back and fix your mistake. And guys, I'm curious, have you ever witnessed a similar case in real life? How strict is your Walmart when it comes to shoplifting? In my opinion, it's definitely a bit over the top to go after a grandma like this, especially in the situation she was in. Let me know your opinion in the comments. Next one is titled, "Is my boss doing something shady?" I currently work for a sole practitioner doing various office things. She kind of takes advantage of my kindness. I mean, I haven't had a raise in over 7 years. My insurance is not paid for, she does not pay for my gas or mileage, and when she asks me to go to court for her to file things or to the bank, like she has me doing at least 3 to 4 times a week. Besides, I've never been allowed to leave to go on a lunch break. Anyways, I'm kind of getting fed up by it because she likes to act that she's so poor, but I don't think that is the case. I've got a bunch of bank statements and Excel spreadsheets opened up and I'm not sure if they are adding up, so to speak. So, my boss, she has not taken a paycheck since 2012, but instead is choosing to pay her personal bills with money from the business account. If she is a sole practitioner, is that okay? Right now, I'm looking at her car payment, her gas card, her cell phone and her insurance. Now, in the year of 2012, I've noticed something suspicious going on that I'm not sure is exactly ethical. In 2012, she was named a trustee by this woman that goes to her church. The woman is still alive but alone, and so my boss is managing her affairs and making sure that her bills are all paid and that there is a nurse there and all of that good stuff. Well, in 2012 my boss collected over $47,000 from this lady in legal fees. Yet I've never once seen a statement. Or a fee agreement for that matter. Also, I have no idea where this $47,000 actually went. I post the checks we receive from our other clients into a spreadsheet, but not once have I seen a check from this woman land that pile, which makes me super suspicious that this money is getting directly dumped into my boss's bank account. I mean, I don't know what to do. Is there even something that I even can do? It just doesn't seem right, you know? I cannot find anything in the professional code of conduct about a situation like this, and I have no idea where to look. Help? Thank you. Also, I should note that I am in Michigan, thank you. And a user in the comments said, if you wanted to, you could make a complaint to the Michigan State Bar. They would do an investigation and determine if any wrongdoing has occurred. Of course, if she gets disbarred, you lose your job. This is a tough situation to be in. Honestly, anytime you are reporting an employer to a regulating body, it is a sensible idea to start getting your resume out there. I mean, honestly guys, this boss does not seem like the nicest person around, but still, would you make a complaint or rather report your own boss? Especially considering that you might lose your job. Let us know in the comments. And the next one is titled, Michigan, my boss is doing something shady. Update. Oh, it's me, I'm back. After I posted here about concerns I was having about my boss, things took a turn. I stumbled across a document stuffed in a file I was cleaning up that set me off. My boss used my notary stamp, forged my signature and faked a proof of service. I don't think it was ever filed, but who knows how long this has been going on or what other documents she has faked. I usually keep my notary stamp in my desk drawer, but have since removed it and myself from work as of today. I feel like someone just punched me in the gut. I probably did not handle the situation well, but I walked out of work. What can I do? Can I do anything? And then a user in the comments said, the only body that manages notaries is the Secretary of State. You are entirely responsible if someone states that they did not sign that document and you have notarized. A superior court / Commonwealth judge will not question that your signature is forged, only the individuals, unless you file a complaint. The process is the same in your situation, but check out this. Good luck. And guys, please correct me if I'm wrong, but this story was basically about some type of money laundering or tax fraud scheme, am I right? And the next one is the last update to the boss story. I am not sure if this is allowed or not, but I wanted to give you all fine people of r/LegalAdvice an update. I just saw that someone posted here about 15 days ago that their boss had used their notary stamp and forged their signature. It reminded me of what happened to me and I thought I would share an update, 2 years late. My original post can be found here. So after the whole notary debacle, I kind of let things stew, but that event was always in the back of my mind. Shortly after I posted that I ended up quitting, not just for the notary forging, but there were a whole bunch of incidents leading up to it. I don't want to rehash everything because I'm trying to put it behind me, but I will say this. I did end up filing for unemployment, and through that process I found out for the entire 8 years I was working there, she had not once paid her unemployment tax. Fortunately, I keep really good records. I had all of my W-2s for the last 8 years and my bank was able to provide me with copies of all of the checks I had ever been written to show that taxes were being taken out of my checks and that I was not some under-the-table employee. Unemployment advised that I keep up with calling their system even though I wouldn't be receiving checks because they needed to investigate, which they did. From what I gather, she just ignored them and by doing so defaulted on her chance to dispute my claim. It almost took 4 months before I received a single payment. And when I did, it was all of the disbursements in one lump sum. It took almost a year before I was ready to enter the workforce again because A, I was burnt out and B, I was finishing my bachelor's. I'm now working on a master's in IT and work for an amazing firm which is closer to my house and who pays me way more money. And the last one is titled, I caused an accident a year and a half ago. Injured party refusing settlement from my insurance company. She is demanding that the money comes from me so that I can know the pain she feels. This is in Richmond, VA. I am dealing with a smallish insurance company and they have been wonderful to work with and they have been communicating with me. They told me that I do not need to take any further action at this point in time, but I wanted to get some understanding as to whether or not this lady has any legal ground to stand on. A combination of nasty weather, my unfamiliarity with the area, and by the way, this word is not in the dictionary, at least the one I was looking at, I was driving, and speed on my part caused me to be at fault for a car accident. I ended up rear-ending a woman. My car is a 2008 Honda Civic, her car is a 2014 Ford Expedition. At 35 miles per hour on a 25 miles per hour road, she was moving about 10 to 15 miles per hour at the time of the rear-ending. My car was totaled, her car needed barely $2,500 worth of repairs. This woman has racked up what amounts to something on the order of $25,000 worth of medical bills. This spans chiropractic appointments to home and doctor office-based physical therapy, etc. Her medical insurance has covered all of this at this point. Last week my insurance company reached a verbal agreement with her and her lawyer for $40,000. She's now refusing the money from the insurance company. She is demanding that the money comes from me personally. She thinks that this will help me learn my lesson. My insurance company shared with me a letter she wrote them, a 12-page front and back what I am calling manifesto. And no, I am not posting it here. I would also like to point out that she is 24 years old and the letter makes it sound like she is an 84-year-old woman on her deathbed with all her listed ailments. I'm not trying to diminish whatever pain she's in or thinks she's in, but come on, right? So, does she have any legal standing on her demand that I pay versus my insurance pay her? And then a user in the comments said, if she sues you personally, your insurance company will provide a lawyer who will show she was sent the money but refused it. I cannot imagine her lawyer or insurance company is too happy with her right now either. And then another person said, if she declined a genuine offer of payment, what happens from here? Can her case be vacated if she refused the payment simply because it comes from the insurance company rather than the individual? I know in some cases if a demand is met and then refused, the whole issue gets thrown out. And guys, honestly, this is once again such a bizarre situation. I would say this is really something that only a lawyer can handle. Let me know what you would do in the comments. And the next one is an update to the weird insurance story. The lady I hit for several weeks refused to take the verbally agreed upon settlement and my insurance company put it on the back burner. In June they gave her 30 days to respond or they would rescind the offer. In the middle of June, she hired a lawyer not connected to her insurance, rather a personal injury attorney. I got a letter from the law firm telling me that I was going to be sued if I did not compensate their client the $40,000 she thinks she is owed from the car incident. I kicked the letter off to my insurance company. I first called, then emailed it. My adjuster that I was working with had an audible after I read him the letter. Then a strained chuckle, "We will take care of this." I heard back from them on Wednesday the 5th. They sent all the documentation of the accident, the audio recording of her verbally agreeing to the settlement amount, and her manifesto to her newly hired attorney. They apparently also included a note that stated that they were giving her until the end of June to accept the money, or they would rescind the offer if she did not get this taken care of soon. My adjuster called me this morning to tell me that the issue has been resolved. She has signed an agreement yesterday that she cannot sue if she takes the money. According to my adjuster, they re-offered her the $40,000 because of two things. Primarily, they wanted this to just go away and they did not want to be sued for more. Second, they apparently know of this personal injury attorney. He requires a very high contingency percentage, and this woman essentially played herself by hiring someone that was not necessary. He collected on her behalf and took his cut. That's all I know, so yeah, issue resolved and my insurance has jumped up a small bit in cost due to the accident. And guys, unfortunately we have already reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed today's stories, and if you haven't already, please also go to patreon.com/ripeyoutube, where I upload exclusive Reddit videos starting at just $3 a month. This is a great way to support me in case you are interested, and the chance for me to become independent from YouTube revenue. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe and like the video, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.